Hello and welcome to this special series on technical writing. Today we are discussing about correct usage in writing. Abbreviations are shortened versions of words or combination of the first letters of the words like corp for corporation, URL for uniform resource locator. Abbreviations, if used appropriately, can be convenient for both the reader and the writer. Like symbols, they can be important space savers in technical writing. Abbreviations that are formed by combining the initial letter of each word in a multi-word term are called initialisms. Initialisms are pronounced as separate letters like AC for alternating current. Abbreviations that combine the first letter or letters of several words and can be pronounced are called acronyms like PIN for personal identification number, laser for light amplifications by stimulated emission of radiation. Now, in business, industry and government, specialists and those working together on particular projects often use abbreviations. The most important consideration in the use of abbreviation is whether they will be understood by your audience. The same abbreviation, for example, can have two different meanings. NEA stands for both National Educational Association and National Endowment for the Arts. Like jargon, shortened forms are easily understood within a group or specialist. Outside the group, however, shortened forms might be incomprehensible. In fact, abbreviations can be easily overused either as an affectation or in a misguided attempt to make writing concise. Even with instant messaging where abbreviations are often used. Remember that memos, emails or reports addressed to specific people may be read by other people also. You must consider those secondary audience as well. A good rule to follow is when in doubt, spell it out. Except for commonly used abbreviations like US and AM, spell out a term to be abbreviated the first time it is used, followed by the abbreviation in parentheses. Thereafter, the abbreviation may be used alone. In long documents, repeat the full term in parentheses after the abbreviation at regular intervals to remind readers of the abbreviation's meaning. Do not add an additional period at the end of a sentence that ends with an abbreviation. For abbreviations specific to your profession or discipline, use a style guide recommended by your professional organization or company. A list of style guides appear at the end of documenting sources. Write acronyms in capital letters without periods. The only exceptions are acronyms that have become accepted as common nouns, which are written in lowercase letters, such as SCUBA, which is an acronym for self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Generally use periods for lowercase initialism like AKA, EDP, PM, but not for uppercases one like GDP, IRA, UFO. Exceptions include geographical names like US, UK, EU and the traditional expression of academic degrees like BA, MBA, PhD. Form the plural of an acronym or initialism by adding a lowercase. Do not use an apostrophe like cars, DVDs. Do not follow an abbreviation with a word that repeats the final term in the abbreviation. For example, HIV transmissions, not HIV virus transmission. Do not make up your own abbreviations. they will confuse readers. Now we come to forming abbreviations. Names of organizations. A company may include in its name a term such as brothers, incorporated, corporation, company, or limited liability company. If the term is abbreviated in the official company name that appears on the letterhead, stationery, or on its website, use the abbreviated form like BROS, BROS, INC, CORP, CO, or LLC. If the term is not abbreviated in the official name, spell it out in writing except with addresses, footnotes, bibliographies, and lists where abbreviation may be used. Likewise, use an ampersand only if it appears in the official company name. For names of divisions within organizations, terms such as department and division should be abbreviated only when space is limited. DEPT for department and DIV dot for division. Measurements. Except for abbreviations that may be confused with words, IN for inch and GAL for gallon, abbreviations of measurements do not require periods like YD for yard and QT for quart. Abbreviations of units of measurement are identical in singular and plural, 1 centimeter and 15 centimeter, not 15 centimeters. Some abbreviations can be used in combination with other symbols, F for degree Fahrenheit and F square for square feet. The following list includes abbreviation for the basic units of International Systems of Units SI, the metric system. This system not only is used in science, but also is used in international commerce and trade. Now, the measurement unit is length, meter is represented by m, mass, kilogram is represented by kg, time is measured in seconds and is represented by s, electric current, ampere, the letter is A, thermodynamic temperature, Kelvin represented by K, luminous intensity measured in candela and represented by CD. Personal names generally should not be abbreviated, Thomas not THOS, Thos, and William not WM. An academic, civil, religious or military title should be spelled out and in lowercase when it does not precede a name. When they precede names, some titles are customarily abbreviated like Dr. Smith, Mr. Mills, Ms. Katz. An abbreviation of a title may follow the name, however, be certain that it does not duplicate a title before the name like Angeline Martinez, PhD or Dr. Angeline Martinez. When addressing correspondence and including names in other documents, you normally should spell out titles. The Honorable Mary J. Holt, Professor Charles Matlin. Traditionally, periods are used with academic degrees, although they are sometimes omitted. Like in MA, it can also be written as MA without periods, MBA and MBA without periods, and PhD with and without period. An adjective is any word that modifies a noun or a pronoun. Descriptive adjectives identify a quality of a noun or pronoun. Limiting adjectives impose boundaries on the noun or pronoun. Like hot surface, it is a descriptive adjective. 3 phones lines, this is limiting adjective. Limiting adjectives include the following categories: articles a, an, the; demonstrative adjectives this, that, these, those; possessive adjectives my, your, his, her, its, ours, their; numeral adjectives to, first; indefinite adjectives all, none, some, any. Articles a and the are traditionally classified as adjectives because they modify nouns by either limiting them or making them more specific. A demonstrative adjective points to the thing it modifies, specifying the object's position in space or time. This and these specify a closer position, that and those specify a more remote position. For example, this report is more current than that report which human resources distributed last month. These sales figures are more recent than those reported last week. Demonstrative adjectives often cause problems when they modify the nouns kind, type and sort. Demonstrative adjectives used with those nouns should agree with them in number, like for example, this kind, these kinds, that type, those types. Confusion often develops when the preposition of is added, this kind of, these kind of, and the object of the preposition does not conform in number to the demonstrative adjective and its noun and prepositions. Avoid using demonstrative adjectives with words like kind, type and sort, because doing so can easily lead to vagueness. Instead, be more specific, because possessive adjectives like my, your, his, her, its, ours, their directly modify nouns. They function as adjectives even though they are pronoun forms. My idea, her plans, their projects. Numeral adjectives identify quantity, degree or place in a sequence. They always modify count nouns. Numeral adjectives are divided into two subclasses, cardinal and ordinal. A cardinal adjective expresses an exact quantity, one pencil, two computers, or an ordinal adjective expresses degree or sequence, first quarter, second edition. In most writing, an ordinal adjective should be spelled out if it is a single word like tenth, and written in figures if it is more than one word like 312th. Indefinite adjectives do not designate anything specific about the nouns they modify. The articles a and an are included among the indefinite adjectives. For example, a chair, an application. Comparison of adjectives. Most adjectives in the positive form show the comparative form with the suffix er for two items and the superlative form with the suffix est for three or more items. For example, the first report is long, this is in positive form. The second report is longer, this is in comparative form. The third report is longest, this is the superlative form. Many two-syllable adjectives and most three-syllable adjectives are preceded by the word more or most to form the comparative or the superlative. For example, the new media center is more impressive than the old one. It is the most impressive in the country. A few adjectives have irregular forms of comparison like much, more, most, little, less, least. Some adjectives like round, unique, exact, accurate often called absolute words, are not logically subject to comparison. Do not add s or es suffix to an adjective to make it plural. Capitalize adjectives of origin, for example, city, state, nation, continent. For example, the Venetian canals, the French government, the African deserts. In English, verbs of feeling, for example, bore, interest, surprise, have two adjectival forms, the present participle, that is ing, and the past participle, that is suffix ed. Use the present participle to describe what causes the feeling, and use the past participle to describe the person who experiences the feeling. For example, we heard the surprising election results, that is, the election results caused the feeling. Only the losing candidate was surprised by the election results, and here the candidate experienced the feeling of surprise. Adjectives follow nouns in English in only two cases: when the adjective functions as a subjective complement, for example, that project is not finished, and when an adjective phrase or clause modifies the noun, for example, the project that was suspended temporarily. In all the other cases, adjectives are placed before the noun. Now, we come to placement of adjectives. When limiting and descriptive adjectives appear together, the limiting adjectives precede the descriptive adjectives, with the articles usually in the first position. For example, the 10 yellow taxis were sold at auction. Article the limiting adjective 10, descriptive adjective yellow. Within a sentence, adjectives may appear before the nouns they modify, that is the attribute position, or after the nouns they modify, the predicative position. For example, the small jobs are given priority, this is attribute position. The exposure is brief, predicative position. Now, we come to use of adjectives. Nouns often function as adjectives to clarify the meaning of other nouns. For example, the accident report prompted a product redesign. When adjectives modifying the same noun can be reversed and still make sense, or when they can be separated by and or, they should be separated by commas. For example, the division seeks bright, energetic, creative designers. Notice that there is no comma after creative. Never use a comma between final adjective and the noun it modifies. Writers sometimes string together a series of nouns used as adjectives to form a unit modifier, thereby creating stacked, that is jammed modifiers, which can confuse readers. A pronoun should refer clearly to a specific antecedent. Avoid vague and uncertain references. For example, we got the account after we wrote the proposal. It was a big one. We got the account, which was a big one, after we wrote the proposal. For coherence, place pronoun as close as possible to their antecedents. Distance increases the likelihood of ambiguity. For example, the office building next to City Hall is praised for its architectural design. Now, the improved version is the office building praised for its architectural design is next to City Hall. A general or broad reference, or one that has no real antecedent, is a problem that often occurs when the word this is used by itself. For example, he deals with personal problems in his work. This helps him in his personal life. Now, this is an improved version. He deals with personal problems in his work. This experience helps him in his personal life. Another common problem is a hidden reference, which has only an implied antecedent. For example, a high lipid, low carbohydrate diet is ketogenic because it favors their formation. Now, the improved version is a high lipid, low carbohydrate diet is ketogenic because it favors the formation of ketone bodies. Do not repeat an antecedent in parentheses following the pronoun. If you feel you must identify the pronoun's antecedent in that way, rewrite the sentence. For example, this is the awkward example. The senior partner first met Bob Evans when he parenthesis Evans was a trainee, and the improved version is Bob Evans was a trainee when the senior partner first met him. A pronoun is a word that is used as a substitute for a noun. The noun for which a pronoun substitute is called the antecedent. Using pronouns in place of nouns relieves the monotony of repeating the same noun over and over. Personal pronouns refers to the person or people speaking, like I, me, my, mine, we, us, our, ours. The person or people spoken to, like you, your, yours, or the person, people or things spoken of, like he, him, his, she, her, hers, it, its, they, them, their, theirs. Demonstrative pronouns like these, this, that, those indicate or point out the thing being referred to. For example, this is my desk, these are my co-workers. That would be a difficult job. Those are incorrect figures. Relative pronouns like who, whom, which, that perform a dual function. Number one, they take the place of nouns, and number two, they connect and establish the relationship between a dependent clause and its main clause. For example, the department manager decided who would be hired. The reflexive pronouns are myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, oneself, ourselves, yourselves, and themselves. Myself is not a substitute for I or me as a personal pronoun. For example, this is incorrect. Victor and myself completed the report on time, and this is the correct one. Victor and I completed the report on time. Intensive pronouns are identical in form to the reflexive pronouns, but they perform a different function. Intensive pronouns emphasize their antecedents. For example, I myself asked the same question. Reciprocal pronouns one, another, each other indicate the relationship of one item to another. Each other is commonly used when referring to two persons or things, and one another when referring to more than two. For example, Lachelle and Kara work well with each other. The crew members work well with one another. Now, to summarize, we have discussed about abbreviations, which are shortened versions of words or combination of the first letters of words, like CORP, corp for corporation, and URL for uniform resource locator. An adjective is any word that modifies a noun or pronoun. Descriptive adjectives identify a quality of a noun or pronoun. Limiting adjectives impose boundaries on the noun or pronoun. Now, we have also learned that articles like a, and, the are traditionally classified as adjectives because they modify nouns by either limiting them or making them more specific. A pronoun should refer clearly to a specific antecedent. Avoid vague and uncertain references. A pronoun is a word that is used as a substitute for a noun, that is, the noun for which a pronoun substitute is called the antecedent. Using pronouns in place of nouns relieves the monotony of repeating the same noun over and over. We have today discussed relative, demonstrative, intensive, interrogative and reciprocal pronouns. I hope this information was of some use to you all. Thank you so much for watching.